What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Muscle Memory. My name is Malcolm, and today I'm talking to one of the biggest wrestling creators in the world right now. Over 100,000 subscribers on the platform and under 400 videos. The man's doing it. I don't know how he's getting these numbers, but we're going to talk about it today. It's Mr. MRSANTIZAP. How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for buttering me up. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this.
We kiss butt on this channel. I mean, honestly, you do what you got to do. But dude, I mean,
Yeah,
like you've done so much on this platform right now. Like, I kind of want to get to know like the person just like behind like the YouTube channel for a second.
sure.
Like, what's your real name for people that don't even know?
For sure. So my real name is Santi, but it's a Hispanic name. It's Santiago. So
Okay.
Santi is kind of like the Mike for Michael is the way that I like to explain it. But I go by my name. I go by what my friends have been calling me for the past 20 plus years.
So what the Zap part? What's that?
It's my last name.
No,
It's
that's really your
Zapata.
last name. Oh,
Yeah,
me?
dude. Like I went as least creativity as possible when it came to making my username.
Yeah,
I've always gone by Zap in some capacity. I'm like, it's part of my last name. It sounds cool, for a Call of Duty gamer tag back in the day. Zap, not bad.
it does, man. I mean, honestly, it sounds like a creator wrestler name. Have you ever thought about like becoming a wrestler?
Oh, who hasn't that does wrestling content creation? Of course, never amounted to anything, but of course, it was always in the back of my mind when I was especially a teenager, for sure.
For sure. I used to go to wrestling training for like a year at most, and it sucked. It was during the pandemic, so you had to wear a
Oh,
mask and train. It was awful. But like
oh,
my
that's
trainer
not
at
the
the
same.
time was Khan from AEW. He was in Mogul Embassy
Oh
with
yeah, yeah.
Silver Strickland. Dude is intense. If you mess up, yes, that guy. If you mess up, he will make you do like burpees on burpees on burpees. Like he was not playing. Nicest guy ever. But yeah, I mean, like wrestling training is hard. I realized the older that people get in wrestling, you could be 50, but you walk around like you're 90. I'm like, I like the sitting in my chair and not doing anything. It's way easier, way better on the body. It
You
seems to
know
be
what?
working out for you as well.
We have different dangers, right? They say that sitting's the new smoking. Like we're living in very dangerous lifestyles too.
Facts. I mean, like honestly, like this is not creating good health by just sitting in a chair all day. But I mean, honestly, I feel like everyone kind of knows you from like this frame of like you just sitting right by these two screens. You got all these videos are being uploaded on a daily basis. Like, goes into like your daily schedule of like making wrestling content?
For sure. So I'm very much a multifaceted content creator. I don't focus just on YouTube. YouTube's the one that's been blowing up for a while now. But I've been doing TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Like I'm literally trying to get my hand just about everywhere. So my day from when I wake up to when I go to bed, because I do this on a full-time basis, is this. I don't think about anything else. The only time that I have to myself, that's for going to the gym, spending it with my dog, with my girlfriend. But really, from when I wake up to when I go to bed, I'm thinking about my business of content creation, and that's kind of the beauty and the curse of doing this as a full time content creator, because you can't ever let off the pedal, because if you do, there's somebody else that's revving it and trying to pass you.
Very true. Honestly, like I had a story recently. Myself and another creator, Chris Van Vliet. Obviously, you
Mhm.
probably know who that is. Everyone
The
knows who that
goat,
is.
the goat.
The goat, the goat. We were talking about you actually. It was at an independent wrestling show in New Jersey, and like we were talking about like different forms of content creation and whatnot. And we both just kept going back to your channel, of, like, man, this guy just makes like this evergreen content that like for like regardless of what time you put it up, it could be a year from now. You still upload stuff that I can go back and watch at any point. Is that like the goal of your channels to make like evergreen like WWE or AEW content? Is that the goal, or maybe that's just kind of what you're interested in?
100% the goal for YouTube. So I take a little bit of a different content approach than what is typically recommended for new content creators. So if you look up, hey, how to become a content creator in 2023, you usually see the advice of, hey, create content once and make it short form here, make it clips of it on Twitter. What I do, because I have the time, because I do this on a full-time basis, is every single one of the channels that I have, from TikTok, Twitch to YouTube, they all offer something very unique and very different from one another. That way, all of my viewers from all of the different channels that I have are forced to go between all of them and cross-pollinate if they want to get all of my content. So if you're into my TikTok, well, if you want to get the long form stuff that I have on YouTube, like, you're not going to get it on TikTok. You got to come over here. And and vice versa. So that's the approach that I take. But YouTube for me has always been the evergreen platform because the name of the game is ad revenue, and I want you to want to click on that video, and I want that video to generate revenue months after I upload it.
For sure. I mean, you're doing a great job at it. I mean, it's honestly working. Like, I remember a few days ago, I was just watching one of your videos that I didn't even realize you uploaded like 5 or 6 months ago. I was like, oh, this seems interesting. We watched this. I'm like, I thought this was brand new. Like, it's crazy.
Perfect.
Like, you're doing a great job.
Goal.
It's doing perfect. When's like the first time you actually got into the content creation scene? Because I feel like I first saw you on TikTok, but were you really originally a TikTok guy, or maybe it was Twitch or YouTube, or what was your story?
Oh, buddy, this is a story. So, and after this story, if anyone's listening to this that's wanting to become a content creator, I hope that this story serves to prove that content creation and growing on YouTube and other platforms is not luck. It is skill. And if you have a good strategy, you will blow up on these platforms, because this is my second time as a full-time content creator, Malcolm. In 2011, I started a Call of Duty gaming channel, and that was when I was in college, and that paid off all of my college bills, tuition, textbooks, and I grew one of the largest Call of Duty channels on the platform at the time. And I retired in 2016 because I entered the workforce. I'm like, I'm good. You know, I did my thing. But that was a channel with a 100,000 plaque back then, which was super difficult to have back in 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
The pandemic hit, and I was like, well, I've got a lot of time on my hands. So I decided to reevaluate and come back to the world of content creation. But I had evolved as a human being, and I wasn't into Call of Duty anymore. So I wanted to find a place where I can make content about something that I was passionate about. And I landed on wrestling. And the landscape had changed to a point where it was easier to be a content creator because there were so many other platforms with algorithms that can push your content, like TikTok. So when I jumped into the wrestling scene, I started on TikTok because for me, TikTok is very much a low-hanging fruit. You can get views quick, followers quick, with not as much effort as a long form video on YouTube. So I started on TikTok with that low hanging fruit type of content, and eventually started funneling those people into my Twitch and funneling those individuals into YouTube, because I see content creation as a funnel where at the top I have the platforms that are easy to get views and followers on, which would be TikTok. Yep. And you're trying to take those viewers through the journey of your funnel. And when you get all the way to the bottom, that's when you have your most hardcore loyal viewers. That's where my patrons are at, right? So I just kind of try and take them through the journey of Santi, where we started TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon.
There it is. There it is. Honestly, we're probably gonna clip this, and that'll be something that goes up soon too. But like, just seeing how do you find the right I guess like clips and whatnot, like from your actual like videos, to put on like a YouTube Shorts or a TikTok that will actually generate people to come over to your actual full-length YouTube video?
So I take two approaches. One, if it makes me laugh, or if it makes myself go, oh, that was interesting. And you have to be a little bit weird as a content creator sometimes, and a little bit maybe self-indulgence, like, oh, I said something good there. That's good. Somebody else is going to want to hear that. So that's approach number one. Approach number two is looking at YouTube analytics and where people are replaying the most or going back to listen to something. So that kind of does your heavy lifting for you in terms of telling you what people are interested in re-seeing, which tells me, okay, this could be good for short form content.
For sure. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And like, even like breaking down some of your actual content you make right now, when it comes to like hot takes and whatnot, I feel like you really like taking that opportunity of like capitalizing on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and actually like moving that over to YouTube as well. Do you usually see like every time you put out one of those like hot take videos, do you see like a growth between your YouTube, or do you see a growth between like not Instagram, Twitter?
They cross-pollinate big time. Absolutely. I'm sure you know the IWC, they're a vocal bunch. They like to be heard. Even if they've got stupid things to say, they'll put them out on Twitter, okay? So I'm like, okay, here's your platform to spew your great takes or your stupid takes, and everyone has an equal platform, and I will react to them. But I'm finding that it does lead to cross-pollination between the two, because the IWC, although it's the most alive on Twitter, it lives on YouTube as well. So when I show to people on YouTube, hey, these folks on Twitter got their chance to be heard. If you want to be heard, you're going to have to go to the Twitter. If you want to see yourself be heard, you got to go to the YouTube. So that goes with the cross-pollination that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about how I offer very different content and different engagement opportunities regardless, depending on what platform you're on. Because I want you to go to all of them. I don't want you to just live on one with when it comes to my content.
For sure. And like even talking about hot takes, what was like the strangest thing you've seen so far on maybe Twitter or whatever you whichever platform you want to call it, about like the whole NXT versus AEW that just happened actually last night?
Sure. I think the weirdest thing, and I think it's kind of the obvious answer, is just the weird tribalism for these numbers. Like, what do you care what these ratings are?
Right.
Like, what does it impact you? Tony Khan doesn't know who you are. Shawn Michaels doesn't know who you are. All that matters ultimately is that we're getting great wrestling and that the viewer is winning. And to me, sometimes for the engagement, I'll lean into things if I'm seeing that, hey, I'm getting a bit more engagement talking about NXT than AEW, then hey, as a content creator, I'm going to chase that. But ultimately, what I find weird is the weird tribalism for these organizations that ultimately just want you to watch them. But look, ultimately, Malcolm, I think it's okay to like NXT and not like AEW. I think it's okay to like AEW and not like NXT. What I think is weird is to like NXT and disparage everything that AEW is doing and vice versa. That's what I find weird about all of this.
For sure. And like honestly, I don't think I've actually met a wrestling fan that can actually like speak about like TV ratings and actually know what they're actually talking about. Because I can't tell you a thing about TV ratings. I don't understand demographics. That no one really cares about that kind of stuff. We feel like we care because we see like Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, whatever, talk about it online. But like at the end of the day, like if you're gonna watch it, you're gonna watch it. And that's what.
Like think about how weird that is. Like you think about an NFL game. Like we don't see an NBA fan being like, oh my goodness, look at the ratings of our NBA game compared to this Monday Night Football game. It's weird. It's weird that we do that in wrestling.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. I feel like we all feel like we're like an executive in some way because like we watch independent wrestling and know Samoa Joe matches from 2005, but it doesn't really mean that as much as people think it does. Like
it doesn't. Yeah, like I get being emotionally involved in a product that you like in a hobby that you're into, but there comes a point of you're being a little too intense about it. Yeah. And I think when the ratings conversation happens with fans, I think I was like, this is where I tune out. Like, I'm happy to have a conversation on who had the more entertaining show. That I'm happy to engage in that conversation. But the conversation of, well, AEW won the 18 to 34 demographic, man. I don't care.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter that much. Even like moving into like some of the actual wrestlers that you're a big fan of. Obviously, John Cena is probably like the #1 guy for you.
That's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, John Cena is one of my favorites as well. I got my YouTube name from John Cena. He gave it to me when I was like 14, which is just a weird story in itself. But why are you such a big John Cena fan? Why is he like that guy for you?
So he wasn't that guy for me originally. For me, that guy, funnily enough, was The Rock. The Rock was that guy for me that was my original GOAT. Cena was an acquired taste for me. I always kind of compare him to avocados. I hated avocados as a kid. I didn't like avocados. And the more that I grew up, I'm like, man, avocados go really well with a lot of things. And when I started to see Cena play really nicely, not just in the main event, but that US Open challenge, that was that era of Cena where I fell in love with what he was doing for the business. Ultimately, that's what solidified him to me as my GOAT. I loved that he got to the point of, in the debate for Mount Rushmore, and now he's giving back to those that are coming below him because, he obviously had that reputation of burying talent. So I love seeing that other side of him where he was putting people over, even if he was beating them. Like, you can get put over in a loss. Just look at Kevin Owens losing to Stone Cold Steve Austin, Sami Zayn losing to Johnny Knoxville. Like, there's great examples over the last several decades of being put over in a loss, and I think John Cena provided a lot of those moments as well. And I personally also really vibe with the super cheesy, but I love hustle, loyalty, respect. I
Same.
love it.
Love
I
it.
love hustle, loyalty, respect, man. I live and breathe by that. It's my motto at the gym as well. I'm a hardcore gymamite,
Oh, we'll
if
talk
that's
about that
even
in
a
a second.
term. We can talk
Okay.
about that if you
Yes,
want.
sir.
But yeah, to me, he was just always just a great role model to follow as well. One last thing. I love what he does for the business outside of the business. I love the Make a Wish stuff. I think that is such a beautiful thing. And look, you can make an argument. You make one wish. All right, you did it for some publicity, maybe. You make 600. You like doing it. You clearly like doing it, and that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just like, let's get some good PR going if you're doing that.
Yeah.
It means something. Like,
Yeah.
some people feel like it's promoting this situation, but it's not. Like it's doing a little bit of both. I mean, obviously you get some praise from it, but you're also making like this kid's day. Like it's very mutual beneficial. But I want to mention like the gym. You talked about the gym.
Yeah.
You seem like a jack dude. You seem like you lift a little bit. What's your numbers? I'm a powerlifter. This is very interesting.
Sure. You know
Tell me the
what?
numbers.
I love talking to powerlifters because you guys absolutely dwarf my numbers. Powerlifting, man, is such a fascinating thing. I'll see this little meatball looking guy who's benching like 500. I'm like, how? How are you doing? Anyways, I've got long limbs. I'm a tall dude. I'm 6'2". My community likes to believe that I'm 4'9". But in terms of numbers today, I'm doing about 275 for 5 in bench is kind of where I like to live in. Just under 500 on the deadlift, and around my squat is pathetic. I'm at around 350 right now.
Hey man, hey, you're doing my warm-ups. I love it. You're doing
Oh,
good.
I knew it. I hate powerlifters. This is always how it ends up.
Like, no, that's actually really impressive though. Do you have any like fitness goals? Is it to like maybe compete in something or maybe not? Like I just started CrossFit recently and this stuff is hard. I hate it. But like, is there like a goal for you in like fitness? What's like the big mission?
My goal in fitness right now is to get in the ring with somebody in influencer boxing. At some point or another,
Same.
That's what I
We
want
can
to
fight.
do.
We can
I'd
fight.
be down to. I think it'd be a tremendous amount of fun, but also a surge of adrenaline that I'd love to seek out. That's right now where if we're talking about fitness goals, Santiago 2024, that would be a major victory for me. At the moment, like numbers, aesthetics, I think I'm kind of good. So there's nothing really that I'm reaching for over there. And I'm not one to ever get on stage and compete, and not interested in that.
For sure. What I like to hear is the fact that we just confirmed that we can fight. That's gonna be amazing.
Let's do it.
You're gonna get hurt. I'm just gonna be honest. You're gonna get hurt, but it's
Dude.
okay. It's okay. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I was potentially in conversation with AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar, to get in the ring with him, and I'm like, oh my god, man, that is a 350-pound former NFL player. What have I done?
Have you met him in person? He's a big dude.
He's a giant dude. I haven't met him in person, but yeah, we go back and forth.
Just the nicest guy. I always see him around here, and he's from Maryland. I'm from Maryland. It's like
right,
the nicest guy. But oh man, you mentioned influencer boxing. I want to mention something as well that's really really big in the scene right now. I actually just talked to Todd Grisham, who's gonna be on the Prime tomorrow or Saturday, I believe, for KSI and Tommy Fury. And that is Matt Riddle versus Jake Paul. Apparently, this is like a conversation. There's some negotiations going on. Do you think that fight actually like takes place? Who wins? It should be Jake Paul, but who wins?
Dude, I was laughed out of the room. I was on the Fightful roundtable when they asked me what's next for Riddle. I'm like, influencer boxing. Get him in there with Jake Paul. I said it. I was laughed out of the room. I'm like, what do you mean? Like this falls in the wheelhouse of Jake Paul. You have a former MMA guy, which is what he fights, and you have a personality that knows how to sell tickets in Riddle. Match made in heaven. I want to see it.
Even on top of that, Jake Paul signed to the PFL in that super heavyweight, in that super fight division. Matt Riddle obviously has an MMA background. It's perfect because if they can do the fight over there in boxing, go over to MMA, give me his first MMA opponent. It literally writes itself. I don't know why people don't understand this. Like I feel like I've tweeted this before, and people just kind of text me like, "This is stupid. I hate Jake Paul." I'm like, yeah, I do too, but like still.
You're not supposed to like him.
Exactly.
Dude, Jake Paul is Ric Flair in the 80s. You're supposed to want him to lose. That's the gimmick. That's the Jake Paul gimmick. You want him to lose, so you buy the pay-per-views to see him lose, and he keeps winning, so you keep buying the pay-per-views to see him lose.
Who's a wrestler that you feel like could actually like transition to influencer boxing that could actually make a big splash?
Oh, that's a fantastic question.
Yesterday, for reference, I was talking to Todd Grisham. He said the Miz would be a good one. I don't know if I fully agree with the Miz, but I mean, he put it out there.
I think the Miz could sell it absolutely.
Exactly.
I don't know. I just I have no disrespect to the Miz. I just don't see him in that
It's
world.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. Ooh, I'm gonna hit you out of left field here. Give me Rhea Ripley. Give me Rhea Ripley in women's
See,
influencer boxing.
I feel like there's not enough big names for Rhea Ripley though. I feel like
That's
it's like the
true.
two like OF girls, I guess. I don't know if I can get
Oh,
some.
I would. Would you
Like
not want to see her kick their ass though?
I think she would. I just don't know that sells, Like I feel like Rhea's a
Hmm.
giant name in wrestling, right? But does that
That's a
transition to
fair
influence?
point.
She
No, no,
has
no.
a lot
You
of TikTok followers in fairness though, so she is technically like an influencer in a way, but I don't know. It would be
it,
interesting to see.
it would definitely bring a lot of WWE fan eyes. Absolutely. But you make a great point. I don't think that necessarily is the card that sells the traditional influencer boxing.
Did you see when John Morrison tried calling out KSI? Because the minute I saw KSI react to that clip, I was like, "This is never going to happen."
It's never going to happen. No, 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 no. Yeah, I did see that. I think that was already the perfect matchup for John Morrison, Harley from Epic Mealtime. I think that in terms of I guess influence in the space and in terms of like their size and body composition, that was already the perfect matchup for him.
Yeah, it definitely was. I heard Sammy Guevara also is interested in influencer boxing, so that would also be a great thing. Just throwing it out there in case anyone has ever
I
thought
would.
about
I
watching.
feel like he'd be tough, man. I feel like he'd be a cardio
He
machine.
would. He would. Yeah, it's all about cardio. If you cardio and technique, if you can get both, at least just cardio, you'll be fine. Like KSI's technique is kind of trash, honestly. I feel like
Non-existent. It's
yeah,
his
not
cardio is
existent.
insane. He's a
His cardio
bull.
is huge.
Yeah, he's his cardio and he pushes forward like an absolute maniac. Like it's tough to deal with that.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But to even like switch back and talk more about like your channel and you being this all-time great creator, who are some of your favorite wrestling creators right now?
Oh, I mean, I've always been a fan of Dank Ops. Funnily
Okay.
enough, like Dank Ops has history in the Call of Duty community as well. So when I was in the Call of Duty space, I remember Dank Ops in Call of Duty. So when I came back to wrestling, it was a shock to me to see him at the very top of the professional wrestling content creation landscape.
For sure.
I know of this guy,
Okay.
but super cool that he has now gotten himself gotten his feet wet in the world of professional wrestling. What a shame that his match with Adam
It
Cole
sucks. It
happened
sucks.
canceled the way that it was canceled. So big fan there. I love commentary channels as well. I like the Great One. The Great One's a good channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them, and I like interview channels as well. So yourself, Denise Salcedo, and of course the GOAT Chris Van Vliet. Chris Van Vliet can do no wrong
He
for me.
can.
Like I was chatting with him about a year ago actually. Turns out went to the same university, so we got a chance to catch up on like the different bars that are around here. He's just a good time.
Great. Wow. Wow. That's really cool to see both of you guys go to the same place. That's amazing. And I guess like before we wrap this up, Santi, like what's like the big goal for you on YouTube? Is it to maybe like obviously is it to get in the ring? Is it to maybe work for a wrestling company? What's your goal of being a wrestling creator?
It's ambitious, but my goal ultimately is to be the biggest wrestling content creator in some way, shape, or form. Like I'm not using content creation as a jumping off platform to do other things because I do find that doing those other things can take away from doing the thing that you're good at. Like I get a lot of people saying, Santi, you should do interviews. I'm not good at interviews. Like interviews are a skill. You have that skill. You have developed that skill. Chris Van Vliet has that skill. I get into an interview situation. I don't have that. I know what I'm good at and I want to be the best at what I'm good at. So I'm going to continue to pursue that. And that's content creation, whether again it's on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok. I'm not necessarily making any declarative statements, but I think I'm already the biggest wrestling content creator on Twitch.
That's fair to
So
say.
now it's just to pursue the other accolades I don't have. I'm coming for that YouTube crown at some point.
It's like a Thanos, like the glove. Like you're just
Yes,
putting in little gems. I like it.
I'm
I
inevitable.
respect that. I respect it. Before we wrap this up, Santi, I gotta ask a big question, probably the biggest question I'm gonna ask you. What's your top 75 Omos matches?
Ooh, yeah. Let's just sit here for a few hours.
Mhm.
Omos versus Omos versus Omos versus Omos and Omos and his with Omos in a pole match. That
Yes,
was a
all the memes.
classic.
So much
That was an
memes.
all timer.
Ooh, ooh,
Dude,
I
those
get behind that.
Omos memes that were happening on TikTok a while ago of all the different versions of
Yo,
Omos are just so good. Greatest Divas champion of all time.
right? The greatest, number one WWE Divas Hardcore 24/7 champion of all time. It's a reign that will never be defeated. Also, television champion as well. But Mrs. SantiZap, you're turning into the Mr. Beast of wrestling YouTube. There's so much going on for you. I'm sure you have a million videos you want to go edit. Where can they find you on social media if they're not already following you?
Yeah, on YouTube you can find me over at Mr. SantiZap, and actually just Google that, and all of my stuff will pop up. SantiZap, Mr. SantiZap, a variation of that.
Look at him. He's all famous and stuff. He could say, just Google me. That's crazy. That's crazy. Absolutely love it. Santi, thanks so much for your time, guys. My name is Malcolm. This is Muscle Memory, and we're out.
We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze.